We'll bill you for the extra.
Well, then without further ado, I better get started. So, the title of our talk today is called Music and Mythology, Stories of Transformation. So, you like transformation? So we came to this because of our different backgrounds and traditions we're interested in, and we're going to move you through, and this will seem like a whirlwind tour, believe me, 3 stories of transformation. One is from a local Native American tradition from where we live in the far northern end of California. We live in Mount Shasta, and so there are several tribes surrounding the mountain that use that mountain as a pilgrimage site. So our story comes from there. And then we will go over to Scotland, and we're going to swim around with a mermaid. And finally, we'll go to Tibet for a Tibetan spiritual practice. And so we're going to include a meditation in this. Eventually, you'll get some meditation this morning, and a lot of music and some background music and different things like that. So we hope you just join us for the journey to all these different places, and we'll start with the Native American story, which Anton will tell us.
The story was collected by Frank Gachet, Department of Ethnology, in 1872 from an old Modoc Indian woman. And the story is, Coyote goes to Mount Shasta on a vision quest. So before the world was the way it is today, Coyote was walking down by the water, and there were a group of young girls bathing in the water, and Coyote, being Coyote, walked right up to the shore and made a pass at those young girls, who looked at each other and then looked back at Coyote and said, "Oh, Coyote, you're way too old for us. You'll have to find somebody more age appropriate." Well, Coyote, being Coyote, was very disappointed at this result.
Coyote had never heard of the Me Too movement.
And he thought to himself, I should go to Mount Shasta on a vision quest so that I can become young again. Well, Coyote had no idea how to do a vision quest, but his friend Jow Jow, Flying Squirrel, did. So Coyote went to Jow Jow and said, "Jow Jow, I've resolved to do a vision quest going to Mount Shasta. Will you help me?" And Jow Jow said, "Oh, Coyote, why ever would you want to do that? Vision quests are for young creatures to find their true purpose in life so that they can live their lives according to that. You've lived a long and fruitful life. There's no reason for you to do this." But Coyote, in a fit of inspiration, responded, "No creature is ever too old to find their true purpose in life. I've put this off for way too long. I've resolved to do it now." And Jow Jow said, "Coyote, those are wonderful words. I don't believe anything you're telling me, but I've been your friend for a long time, so I will help you anyway." So, Coyote, you have to gather sweat lodge blankets and carry them to Mount Shasta. And when you get to Whitney Creek, cut your sweat lodge willows and strip off the bark, wrap those in the blankets. Go up above Whitney Falls, where you'll gather your firewood and wrap those in the blankets. Then go to the saddle between the 2 peaks and build your sweat lodge, where you'll take the firewood and build a very hot fire and heat up rocks. And when they're glowing hot with a couple sticks, carry them into your lodge. Gather water from Lake Sisson and make steam and pray deep into the night to Gamokamsh, the great spirit who lives inside Mount Shasta. Pray that he will adopt you as his son. And And furthermore, Coyote, I'm going to teach you a song that you have to sing to Gamokamsh the entire way you're walking to Mount Shasta. But Coyote, it's very important that nobody sees you, nobody hears this song, and especially that nobody finds out what you're doing. So Coyote goes off with his sweat lodge blankets, walking on the trail toward Mount Shasta. And pretty soon, some people are walking on the trail the opposite direction from Mount Shasta. They round a bend in the trail and they see Coyote with all these blankets, and they hear his song and they say, "Oh, Coyote, whatever are you doing carrying all these blankets walking toward Mount Shasta?" And Coyote answers them saying, "I'm going to Mount Shasta on a vision quest so that I can become young again." And the people look at each other and they look back at Coyote and they say, "Coyote, we wish you well." And they keep walking. And Coyote keeps walking. Pretty soon some more people are coming on the trail from Mount Shasta. And before they round the bend in the trail, they hear this canine howling, and then they see Coyote with these blankets. And they walk up to him and they say, "Oh, Coyote, whatever are you doing with all these blankets walking toward Mount Shasta?" And Coyote answers them saying, "I'm going to Mount Shasta on a vision quest so that I can become young again." But as Coyote gets closer and closer to the mountain, the immensity of what he's doing begins to overtake him. And then for the rest of the journey, whenever anybody comes on that trail, Coyote hides in the manzanita and sings softly to himself. There's more chairs in the back. There are 3 spaces to sit in here if you like. We're telling a story of Coyote going to Mount Shasta on a vision quest. So, Coyote gets to Whitney Creek and he cuts his sweat lodge willows. He strips off the bark, wraps them in the blankets, carries everything above Whitney Falls where the timberline is, gathers his firewood, wraps them in the blankets, hikes up to the saddle between Shasta and Shastina, builds his sweat lodge. It's just getting dark. He puts rocks on the wood, heats them up, glowing red hot, carries them with a couple of sticks inside his lodge that he's built, and he prays deep into the night to Gamokamsh, the great spirit who lives inside Mount Shasta, and he prays that he will be adopted as his son. And then Coyote falls asleep. And he dreams that Gamokamsh comes into his lodge. And Gamokamsh says to him, "Oh, Coyote, I know your intentions have not been pure, but you've done the ceremony, you've sang the song, you've prayed to me. So I want to honor your request and adopt you as my son. Furthermore, I'm going to honor your hidden request, and I'm going to make you young again. But more important than that, I'm going to promise you that as long as there are 2-leggeds and 4-leggeds walking on this earth, there will always be Coyote." Oh, right.
Wait, don't jump up.
This is music. And music and mythology. So we told the myth, now for the music. Unfortunately, the Modoc traditions didn't survive after the Modoc War. So from the tribe, one native peoples to the west, this is the Karuk coyote chant. We'll sing it 4 times to the 4 directions. If you get the knack of it, you're welcome to join us.
Are we going to face around because it's a good walk?
Let's face. This is east, correct?
Right.
We'll start there. South, west, north. East for new life. South for summer prosperity. West for completion. North for introspection. There we go.
I need a little more room. Do you want to stand back?
We'll face it.
I'm
Never mind. Hey, 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 yo. Hey, 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 yo. Hey, 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 yo. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Hey, 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 yo. Hey, 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 yo. Hey, hey, Noah. Hey, hey, yo. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Hey, 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 yo. Hey, hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Hey, 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 yo. Hey, hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Honey, hey, Noah. Hey, yo. Yoto wa hai. Yoto.
So Coyote was a bit of what we love to call an accidental tourist of transformation. He was kind of a bad boy. He, did things wrong. He didn't, sing the chant silently at first. He had to tell everybody what he was doing, even after being told that is not the way we do these vision quests. And finally, when he's in his sweat lodge in the middle of the night and he's praying to Gamo Kamsha all night and he's supposed to sustain this vigil, he falls asleep on the job. Does Coyote deserve transformation? Well, he does, like we all do, because he manages to create a space almost in spite of himself. He has that little seed of goodness inside. Something in there is sincere. Some part of him, even though he's motivated at first by outward things like, I want to impress the girls. The girls aren't really impressed, but that's a whole other story. Coyote still manages to connect with that part of himself. He does what it takes. He climbs the long road up the mountain. And I don't know if any of you have ever climbed Mount Shasta or another mountain, but it's not really easy to go trekking with a bunch of stuff on your back up to those heights and then do a sweat lodge. I mean, Coyote did put in some really hard work to accomplish his vision quest. He didn't follow all the rules, but when he fell asleep on the job, this is the really amazing part. Gamo Kamsh finds a way to reach Coyote in his dreams. So it's never hopeless for any of us who are walking down that slightly bumbling trail. It's a matter of putting in your best effort and having a sincere desire to connect. And there's a way. And Coyote basically kind of shows us that story. I mean, in a sense, we are all Coyote. We've all made mistakes. And we all have something in us that's willing to, for instance, show up here on a Sunday and let's see if we can find out some other new and interesting way to learn about transformation. That's what Coyote did. You know, he just did his best. So here we are, woohoo! And his story is our story. And it's pretty great. So we're now going to take kind of a different turn, and we're going to swim with a mermaid. And this mermaid is in Scotland, and she's in some pretty cold water and rough seas. And her story is in Gaelic. It's a song. She tells her story in a song, and the song is conveniently, for our purposes, in 3 verses. So these 3 verses kind of take us through a miniature hero's journey. Most of you have heard of the hero's journey that was kind of widely popularized by Joseph Campbell, who's a name that, pretty much a household name by now. Well, this is kind of a miniature version of the hero's journey where the mermaid is first torn away from her loved ones, and the song does not spell this out, but you get the idea that she was perhaps in her human form and had a family or a lover or some connections to the land. And she's ripped away from that. And the first part of that hero's journey is disruption. It's what sends you on the journey in the first place. So she experiences disruption. She's torn from her loved ones. And she says, I have loved so deeply, even though I am only a mermaid. So she feels unworthy, and she's cast out. It's not really a nice place to be. And the next part of her journey, she describes as swimming around and around, from island to island, never knows where she'll rest her head on any given night. Which island will it be? I don't know. So she's literally at sea, and she's like become a homeless person of the sea. She's not having to sleep on a bridge. She's just having to wash up on some strange beach every night and doesn't know where her fortunes will take her. And finally, and this is why I have my little note card, lest I forget to tell you that part of her journey is filled with uncertainty. And that's kind of a stage in the journey where you may not know what's coming next. It may be that life is just confusing, the options are not really clear, you cannot go back, but you can't really move forward yet either, because there's no clear path. So uncertainty is the name of that part of the journey. But finally we get to the magical, what most people think of as kind of the magical part, the new beginning. So in the mermaid's new beginning, how will she go from swimming around and around to getting a whole new start in life that is much more satisfactory? That's always like the $1 million question, right? So for the mermaid, she, in the song, it describes her looking down under the sea, riches greater than in the palace of any king. Now, what can that mean? Because, really, do mermaids have pockets? Do they need a lot of gold coins? Doubtful. So the mermaid, this is a beautiful, beautiful metaphor. The mermaid goes from swimming around, lost, not knowing what to do. And she has gone from the land to the surface of the water, where she's being churned up by winds and waves and all that stuff. And then she takes a look down, and she finds that in her amazing transformational self that was human, cast out, she has the power of a sea creature. she can go under that water and unite her whole self, her human side and her it's not really a fish, but her sea creature side. They can come together. She can integrate and realize her full power and take that deep dive to claim the metaphorical riches under the sea, the other part of her equation. It was waiting there for her the whole time. And that's the part of the hero's journey where she goes and claims her treasure. And her treasure comes out of her own resourcefulness that she found within herself. She's the same girl swimming around out there. It's just that she saw something new. She caught a glimpse and she can go for it. She has the wholeness and the power to go for it. So, like Coyote, the mermaid is all of us. We can bring that all together. And sometimes it takes a little wiggling around and figuring out, what is the next step? How do I reach it? So she keeps her eyes open and she sees it and she's able to claim that. So that's her lesson for us. So I'd like to sing you her song. It's in Gaelic. And I'll try to put in some little signposts along the way so we know where we're at in the journey. But if you don't mind, just kind of journeying along and see where it takes you. So we're going to set the scene with a little oceanic chorus. Verse 1, disruption. I have loved so deeply, even though I am only a mermaid. Verse 2, uncertainty. I never know on which island I'll rest my head. Verse 3, the new beginning, the reimagination. Under the sea, riches greater than in the palace of any king. Shales feiken krunt na farga, uavan arget sorgunji, lanyura fadaka sule. An kurshn yo luchars three. Thank you for going on the mermaid's journey with us. If only it were that simple, right? But knowing that there are some mythological stories that address these things that happen in our lives, to me it brings some comfort, because it means that our ancestors have gone through these types of processes before, and so can we. They were strong, and we can be strong. They were creative, and we can be creative. They were resourceful, and we can be resourceful. And that's the beauty in these myths that just kind of keep going, and we pass them down to our grandchildren. And so I'm going to turn it over to Anton now so we can zip off to the Himalayas. I told you this would be a quick tour, and take it away, dear.
So for our third journey in another religious tradition, we're going to do a sadhana, a religious practice from Tibet. This practice involves a compassion practice. It involves a chant, which we did last night, so some of you will know it. We'll do it again at the beginning, just to reacquaint you with it. A chant to Tara, who's a bodhisattva seen as a seed and presence of universal compassion latent within all beings in the universe. The practice, the sadhana that we're going to do, is translated a bit from Sanskrit and Tibetan, both two languages that I studied when I was getting my degree in history of religion, my master's degree. And it's a practice that Tibetan lamas will do before they give a universal compassion initiation. And when I was reading this, I thought, this is pretty interesting stuff. I know you're supposed to do 100,000 prostrations before you do this practice, but maybe at least people should have an idea of what it's about. So we're not going to have time to do the whole practice, but in the practice, you center yourself in a deep place of meditation and visualize the universe dissolving to a point of light. And then we're going to recreate that universe, a new universe from that point of light, a universe which is a three-dimensional mandala of universal compassion. So we'll do the chant first. Om Tare Tare, Tut Tare, Tu Re Soha. Please join us in the chant.
Tare tu re soha, om tare tare. Tu 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 tare tu re soha, om. Soha, om tare tare. Tu tare tu re soha, om tare tare. Tu tare tu re soha, om. Om tare tare. tu tare tu re so ha, om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha, om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha, tare, tu tare tu re so ha, om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha, om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha, om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha, om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha. Tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha. Om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha. Om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha. Om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha. Tu tare tu re so ha, om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha, om tare tare, tu tare tu re so ha. So if we'll breathe deeply into that core essence in the center of our being. I take refuge in all spiritual teachers in every tradition throughout this world. I take refuge in all valid spiritual teachings in every tradition. And I take refuge in that community of light workers in every village, in every town, in every country throughout the world. May all beings be happy, free from suffering, never separated from immeasurable bliss, free from anger, attachment, and delusion. I vow to remain committed to this spiritual awakening for as long as breath breathes through this body. So from this place at the core essence, the center of our being, we'll visualize the universe dissolving to a point of light. From this point of light, visualize a red lotus with blossoms open. On top of this red lotus, a moon seat appears, a white crescent moon pointing upwards. Seated on top of this moon crescent is the green syllable Tom, which is the essence of your own mind. This green syllable Tom is also the bija, the seed syllable for Tara, a being of immeasurable compassion, which we create in our own minds. From this green syllable Tom, rays of light are manifest, which make offerings to all spiritual beings throughout the universe,
for the benefit of all sentient creatures. This light then reabsorbs into yourself as you become Tara. The color of your body is green. Your right hand, which rests on your knee, is in the giving mudra. In it you hold the vessel of life. Your left hand is at your heart. With the ring finger and thumb pressed together, holding the stem of the blue upala flower. You are peaceful and smiling, adorned by all precious ornaments and garments. Your right foot slightly extended, your left foot slightly tucked in. Your back rests against a wall of moon. On your forehead, Om. At your throat, Ah. At your heart, Hum. From this Hum, rays of light are extended, invoking all the enlightened ones of the 10 directions in the form of green taras with the recitation Om Benza Samaya Zahum Bamho. All these deities then absorb into yourself. And again from this seed syllable surrounding your heart, light rays are extended, invoking the 5 initiating cosmic Buddhas. As you recite Om Benza Samaya and make the request, please, all enlightened ones, bestow on me all empowerments. And the enlightened ones respond, saying, Om Sarva Tathagata Abhisheka Samaya Shiri Om. And having thus said, they pour water from a vessel onto the top of your head. This water goes through your entire body, purifying all bodily defilements. It fills up your body to the top of your head. And in your heart, on that moon seat, there's that green syllable Tom, now surrounded by the complete mantra. Om, Tare Tare, Tu Tare, Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tare, Tu Re Soha. From these syllables, rays of light are extended, making offerings to all enlightened ones and all those striving for enlightenment throughout the universe. These offerings are useful for the benefit of all sentient creatures. All the powers, blessings, and compassion of all those enlightened ones and all those striving for enlightenment now manifest in the forms of rays of light, which absorb into this rosary of seed syllables surrounding your heart as you recite the mantra, Om Tare Tare, Tu Tare, Tu Re Soha. I confess all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and I rejoice in all the virtues of holy and ordinary beings. I shall remain committed to this great enlightenment until all suffering in the universe ends. I will turn the wheel of spiritual teachings for all sentient beings. I dedicate all virtues of myself and others to this great enlightenment. Tare Tare, Tu Tare, Tu Re Soha. Om 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 Tare Tare, Tutare tu re soha. So thank you for taking that journey with us. We have looked at 3 different religious traditions dealing with transformation. 3 quite different paths. The accidental tourist, the path where we transform because we have to, the path of intentional transformation. There are myriads of paths of spiritual transformation. We like giving these talks at New Thought Centers because this center here, Center for Spiritual Living Modesto, is a house of transformation. That's why we're all here. We're here to transform our lives and in the process, transform this world because we're the hands and feet of Spirit in this world. If there's a heaven, it's going to be here. We're going to make it. So that's our promise. That's our journey. And we ended with a compassion practice because the person sitting next to you, their path of transformations may look as different as coyotes and the Tibetan lamas. We're perplexed. What the heck is going on with them? Sometimes we're perplexed with our own path. So, compassion is the answer to that. Have compassion on the others and on ourselves. I'm going to turn it over to Christine. Thank you so much.